What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel, guys. I seen some people requesting that I do part 2 of the World War One. I tried to do the one 1915, but I get it's unavailable. So we here 1916. So if y'all can find the 1915 version or a version that's available on Epic History, let me know. But I tried and it didn't work, so we here with this one. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Send down those recommendations, and let's get back to some history.
World War I was supposed to have been a short and glorious war. But by 1916, a new kind of industrialized warfare had seen the death toll soar into the millions, with no end in sight. Naval blockades were beginning to cause shortages of food and fuel across Europe, while thousands of women had entered the workforce, replacing the men sent to fight in their millions. All sides were preparing for a long war.
Man.
The war has raged for a year and a half as the Allies continue to battle the Central Powers, recently joined by Bulgaria. At sea, the British maintain their naval blockade of Germany, preventing the import of food and other vital raw materials. Germany has retaliated with a U-boat blockade of Britain, but has to limit its attacks to avoid provoking the neutral USA, whose citizens have already been caught in the crossfire. On the Western Front, French, British and Belgian troops are dug in opposite the Germans, both sides trapped in the bloody stalemate of trench warfare.
Dang.
On the Eastern Front, the Russians have ended their long retreat and stabilized the line, but their army has suffered huge losses. On the Italian front, Italian troops have launched a series of costly, unsuccessful attacks against strong Austro-Hungarian defences. While on the Balkan front, the Central Powers have overrun Serbia, whose army is forced to make a bitter retreat through the Albanian mountains.
Dang. Man, I just think about all the men that were participating in this war, and like they said in the beginning, how all the women had to now do those jobs that the men were doing just to maintain probably still a living and stuff. That is crazy. But man, this is like I feel like this channel definitely go into depth because what we learned about World War One, Two. It wasn't in detail like this. This is very detailed information right here.
Bitter retreat through the Albanian mountains. Now, on the 5th of January, Austro-Hungarian troops attack Montenegro. They are delayed at the Battle of Mojkovac, but 3 weeks later, Montenegro is forced to surrender.
Dang.
On the Caucasus front, the Russians launch a surprise winter offensive against Ottoman Turkish forces. 6 weeks later, Russian troops occupy the city of Erzurum. In April, they capture the Black Sea port of Trebizond. Meanwhile, the British transport 2 motorboats to Lake Tanganyika in Africa. They finally arrive after a 10,000-mile trip by sea and land, and help the British seize control of the strategic lake from local German forces. The same month, in German Cameroon, German troops besieged on Mora Mountain for 18 months finally surrender to the Allies.
Oh man.
It marks the end of the Cameroon campaign.
18 months? Oh my god.
On the Western Front, the Germans unleash a devastating assault on the French fortress town of Verdun. German General Erich von Falkenhayn knows France will defend this symbolic town to the last man. His plan, in his own words, is to bleed France white in its defence. It is the strategy of attrition. Verdun becomes one of the most terrifying battles of the war, a mincing machine, where infantry divisions are destroyed almost as fast as they can be fed into the line.
Dang.
In Britain, 1 million men have already volunteered for military service. But the government realizes it won't be enough. Britain becomes the last major power to introduce conscription.
That's crazy. You have 1 million people volunteer to sign up and you still saying that's not enough? Oh my God. Which is understandable now that I know a little bit because of shoot. These troops are being sent everywhere all over the world and stuff, battling. But that is crazy. Uniform, recruits required at once to complete this fine. Man. Give us a hand, old man. And appeal. Man, that's crazy. Just looking at these little articles or brochures that they get you to even volunteer, or it ain't even volunteer because they paying them, but to even just join the military. That's man.
Britain becomes the last major power to introduce conscription. That spring, on the Western Front, British troops are the last to be issued with steel helmets. The nature of trench warfare produces a high proportion of head wounds. The German Stahlhelm, the French Adrian helmet, and the British Mark I steel helmet offer limited protection from shell splinters and shrapnel.
Dang.
Neutral Portugal has been cooperating with the British, which seems to offer the best chance of holding on to her African colony, Portuguese Angola. On the 9th of March, Germany retaliates by declaring war on Portugal.
Germany declaring war on everybody. Boy, that was a plan.
On the Eastern Front, Russia launches an attack near Lake Narok to relieve pressure on the French at Verdun. But it's a disaster. There are 100,000 Russian casualties, and the attack fails to divert any German troops from the fighting at Verdun. In Dublin, Irish Republicans launch an armed revolt against British rule. It becomes known as the Easter Rising, and is put down after 6 days of street fighting.
I heard of that before.
In the Middle East, after a 5-month siege, British forces at Kut surrender. General Townsend leads 9,000 British and Indian soldiers into captivity.
Dang.
About half later die from starvation or disease.
Oh, man.
Britain wants Arab support in its fight against the Ottoman Empire, so it's promised Arab leaders an independent Arab state after the war. But now, Britain and France secretly sign the Sykes-Picot Agreement, planning after the war to divide the Middle East into British and French zones of control. Unaware of this deal, Hussein bin Ali, Sharif of Mecca, leads the Arabs in revolt against Turkish Ottoman rule. In the Battle of Mecca, his forces seize control of the Holy City. On the Italian front, Austro-Hungarian forces launch a surprise attack at Asiago. Italian defences give way. Austro-Hungarian troops are poised to break through into northern Italy.
Dang, Italy.
That month in the North Sea, the German High Seas Fleet clashes with the British Grand Fleet at the Battle of Jutland. In the only major naval battle of the war, the British suffer heavier losses, but claim victory as the German fleet withdraws and does not re-emerge from its base for the rest of the war.
Dang. That is crazy, man. Germany was declaring war with everybody. They wasn't playing no games at all.
For the summer of 1916, the Allies have planned major simultaneous offensives against the Central Powers, from east and west. Now they are needed more than ever to relieve pressure on the French at Verdun and the Italians at Asiago. The Russians launched their attack first. On the Eastern Front, General Alexei Brusilov has carefully maintained the element of surprise. His troops break through the enemy lines, in some places advancing 60 miles and taking 200,000 prisoners.
Dang.
This brilliant, though costly, Russian attack achieves its aim, as the Central Powers are forced to redeploy troops from other fronts to shore up the line.
Wow. I wonder how long that pretty much took for those troops to even, go all the way pretty much across country to get on the line of another country invading. I wonder how long it took. Because, of course, this is just showing flat again. But this looked like, especially in those times, it had to take like a couple of days or so to get there.
Fronts to shore up the line.
I hope they got there in time.
At sea, British cruiser HMS Hampshire, en route to Russia, hits a mine and sinks off Orkney. Among the 650 dead is Britain's iconic Secretary of State for War, Lord Kitchener. 3 days later in the Adriatic, Italian troop ship Principe Umberto is sunk by a German submarine.
Dang.
It's the deadliest sinking of the war, with 1,900 lives lost.
Wow.
On the Western Front, Britain and France launched their major summer offensive, the Battle of the Somme. Hopes are high for a breakthrough, but the first day is a disaster. A long Allied artillery bombardment fails to knock out German defences, and waves of British infantry are cut down by machine gun fire as they advance into no man's land.
Dang.
In the space of a few hours, the British suffer 57,000 casualties, a third of them killed. It's the worst day in the history of the British
Oh my
Army.
God, look at all those graves.
But more attacks are ordered, and the battle will rage for another 5 months.
Not Romania.
Encouraged by the Russian advance, Romania joins the Allies. But despite an initially successful advance into Transylvania, Romania quickly faces a counter-offensive from German, Bulgarian and Austro-Hungarian forces. The Allied force at Salonika tries to support Romania by launching their own offensive towards Monastir. With Serbian troops in the lead, there are small gains, but dogged Bulgarian resistance prevents a breakthrough.
Dang.
On the Western Front, General von Falkenhayn finally calls off the attack at Verdun. The French army has honoured their commander General Naval's promise. Ils ne passeront pas. They shall not pass. But victory comes at a terrible price. 365,000 casualties.
God.
The Germans lose almost as many.
Dang.
Verdun remains one of the bloodiest battles in human history.
That is wild.
For his defeat at Verdun, Falkenhayn is sacked, and Germany's heroes of the Eastern Front, von Hindenburg and Ludendorff, take command in the west. Meanwhile, the Battle of the Somme continues. Near the village of Flers, the British introduce a new weapon they hope can break the deadlock of the trenches. It is called the tank.
Oh.
But despite some small successes, the first tanks are too few in number and too prone to mechanical failure to make any real impact.
Dang, that sucks. Dang.
On the Eastern Front, Russia's Brusilov offensive comes to an end. Casualty estimates vary wildly, but it's clear both sides have suffered catastrophic losses.
Oh my, 1
Neither
million.
the Russian nor the Austro-Hungarian army ever
Oh
fully
my
recovers.
gosh. Bro, this is a lot of people. Dang. This is wild. I heard about, but I never knew how many people just died like by the years, or really it seemed like by the months maybe. This is crazy.
Army ever fully recovers. On the Italian front, heavy fighting rages throughout the autumn, as Italian forces make repeated, costly assaults against Austro-Hungarian positions along the Isonzo River. The Battle of the Somme comes to an end amid autumn rain and mud. The Allies have advanced 10 miles at the cost of 600,000 casualties. German losses are about 450,000. The Allies reassure themselves that this is a winning strategy, because at this rate, Germany will run out of men first.
I'm sure they will hope so.
Disaster engulfs Romania as the country is overrun by the Central Powers. Romanian forces suffer 250,000 casualties. The remnants of its army take position.
What could you do? Romania is already small, and they getting attacked by 3 other countries. Like what? What more? What are you gonna be able to do?
Alongside the
They
Russians
should have been there, did
on the
that.
Eastern Front.
They should have started with the Russians.
That winter, Franz Joseph, Emperor of Austria since 1848, dies. He is succeeded by his son, Karl. In Britain, Prime Minister Herbert Asquith is forced from office and succeeded by David Lloyd George, while General Joffre is replaced as French Commander-in-Chief by General Naval, who promises victory through bold, aggressive action. Amid the comings and goings, US President Woodrow Wilson's attempts to mediate a peace settlement come to nothing. Neither side is willing to make concessions. Epic History TV relies on...
This is when the US started coming in 1917. I'm guessing. But man, this is wild. This is wild. But man, just with all that's going on here, a lot of people, a lot of lives lost. But it's like, dang, once you get that victory, you realize how many people you lost. And then boom, you stepping in some other territory, and you have to get ready to fight. But yeah, I thought with the Romania, they should have started off. They should probably start off with Russia, because it was already small. They was getting hit by 3 other countries. Like, come on now, come on. But this is wild. This is a lot, man. This is a lot. Like, whew. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is epic history. Like I said it on the live. This is some epic stuff, man. Especially more detailed stuff than I've learned. So, but appreciate you guys for considering that I continue on with this series. Like I said, couldn't do 1915. Hopefully 1917 works, so I could check that out. But that's all I have for this video. Y'all hit that subscribe button, send down those recommendations, and y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.